Every country has its collection of folk tales, and sometimes a folk tale that comes from one country can be told in other countries too, and so you get different versions of the same folk tale. And this one comes from China. So once upon a time in China, there was an old emperor. An emperor is a bit like a king. He had ruled the kingdom for many years, and now he was an old man. Now he'd spent so much time being the emperor, he hadn't really spent a lot of time doing other things, and he had no family and no children, and so he had no son who could be the emperor after him. Now in those days, unfortunately, only men and boys could be emperors. And so his advisors said to him, "Your Majesty, you need to decide who is going to be the emperor after you go. I mean, we love you, but you're going to die soon. And so please, because if you don't decide, there will be fighting and there will be war between the rich and powerful nobles in the land." And the emperor said, "Yes, I need to decide. But I need to choose someone who has the character and the qualities to make a good emperor." Now he knew all the people close to him who were rich and powerful, who wanted to be the emperor, and he didn't think any of them really had the character and the qualities to be the emperor. And so he was sitting in his garden one day thinking about this when he had an idea. You see, this emperor loved flowers. He spent as much time as he could in his garden. Now that he was old, even more time than before, and he loved gardening and he loved planting flowers and seeing them grow, see them come out into the most beautiful colours. And he was sitting there enjoying his garden, and he thought to himself, yes, that's what I'll do. And so he spoke to his advisors and said, "I've made a decision. I'm going to let the flowers decide who should be the next emperor." "The flowers? How can flowers decide who should be the next emperor?" said his advisors. "I have a plan," said the emperor. Well, he sent out a message throughout his kingdom to all the boys who lived in the kingdom. "Whoever wishes to be the next emperor," he said, "should come to the palace next week. And when they arrive, I will give them a seed, a flower seed, which they must take home with them and cherish and look after. And I want them to plant that seed so the seed grows into a beautiful flower. And at the end of the summer, after 6 months, I will call all those children back, and the boy who has most lovingly looked after that seed to grow it into a beautiful flower will be the one who I will choose to be the next emperor." Well, you can imagine there were so many boys desperately keen to be the emperor, and in fact their mums and dads were too. And so the next week there was a huge long queue of young boys waiting to get their seed. Now one of these boys was called Ping. That was his name. He loved flowers too. In fact, he'd spent so much of his time in the garden planting. He knew all about flowers. He knew all about how to use the soil and water them in the sunshine. He knew all about different types of flowers. He was sure that he would be able to nurture and care for the seed and make it the most beautiful, magnificent flower, and he would be the next emperor. He was sure of it. And so eventually, when he waited in the queue and it was his turn, and he put his hand out, and the emperor said, "There you are, my boy. There's the seed. I want you to grow the most beautiful flower from that seed." "Yes, your Majesty," said Ping. and went back, holding the seed very carefully. Well, he set to work. As soon as he got home, he got a pot and he put the soil in it, and he knew exactly how to put the seed in, and very carefully he watered it, and he waited excitedly for the next day. Well, there was no sign that the seed was sprouting the next day, but that was fine. He knew it would take a few days, and he carefully watered it, but not too much. Made sure it got a bit of sunshine to encourage the warmth to go into the seed. But after a week, there was no sign of any flower. The seed wasn't sprouting. But that was okay, because the children in the village, the other boys who had a seed, their flower wasn't sprouting either. But after a month, there was still nothing. And by this time, all the other children in the village, well, their flowers were beginning to sprout and grow. And it was only Ping who had no flower in his pot, and he thought, I don't know what I'm doing wrong. Perhaps it's the soil. And so he changed the soil. But still, after a few weeks, there was nothing growing. Perhaps it's the pot, he thought. So he changed the pot. He tried everything that he could think of. But each day, when he looked, nothing was growing. He even started to sit up at night, spending time with it, hoping that somehow, by just talking to it, it might grow. But it didn't. And soon the end of the summer came, and all the other children of the village had beautiful, magnificent flowers. And Ping, well, his seed hadn't sprouted. His pot was empty, apart from the soil. And the day came that all the boys had to return to the palace to show the emperor how they'd cared for his seed. Ping was in floods of tears, and his father came up to him. Dad, I've tried everything. I know about growing flowers, but I don't understand why this seed just hasn't sprouted. All the other children have succeeded, and I have failed. I've done my best, but it hasn't worked. I can't go to the emperor with an empty pot like this. And his father looked at him and he said, Ping, you have done your best. You have cared and looked after that seed for 6 months and it hasn't grown. But all you can do is your best. You need to go back to the palace and explain to the emperor. And so Ping reluctantly picked up his pot and set off to the palace. Well, you can imagine when all the other children were carrying their pots, they had beautiful flowers of different colours, and they looked at Ping's pot and they laughed at him and they made fun of him. They said, you haven't even got a flower in there, it's an empty pot. Oh, the emperor is going to laugh at you, or he's going to be angry. How could you not grow a flower? Look at our beautiful flowers. And Ping felt so humiliated and so sad, he could not even look up. Well, when they all arrived at the palace guards ordered the children to stand in a big row and put their pots down in front of them so that the emperor could see all their beautiful flowers. And out came the emperor to examine the flowers. And he could see all the pots. Beautiful flowers with lots of beautiful colour. Said the emperor. Said the emperor. Said the emperor, as he looked at all the different flowers. And then he came to Ping, who was standing with his head down and tears running down his face. And the emperor asked him, why do you come with an empty pot? with nothing in it but soil? The seed is in the soil, said Ping. Your Majesty, I tried and tried. I changed the soil, I changed the pot, I changed its position, I even sat with the seed overnight, but nothing that I could do would make the seed grow. I am so sorry that I have failed. And all the other children who had all these beautiful flowers laughed and made fun of Ping. And the Emperor looked up at all the other children and said, well, children, you all have beautiful flowers that you have grown, but I don't know where you got the seed from to grow those flowers, because every seed I gave to every child had been cooked, which means they wouldn't grow, they would not sprout. And then he looked down at Ping. I have found the boy who has the character and the qualities to be the next emperor. It is you, Ping. And Ping looked up with his tear-stained face. You, said the Emperor, are the only one here who has been honest and hasn't cheated. And if there's one thing that an emperor needs to be more than anything else, is honest and truthful. And you have shown by your honesty and your courage to tell the truth that that person is you. Well, that story was told to me many years ago, but you can find the story in books as well. One is by an author called Demi, and another one is by an author called Charlotte Guillain. And there's probably other books as well, and different versions of the story, and the boy might have different names, but the message is always the same. And for me, I think the main message in that story is the importance of being honest. So maybe you can decide yourself what you think the main message in that story is. And I hope you liked it. And I hope you're doing okay at home. And I'm going to try and upload another few stories over the next few days. Until then, keep on storytelling and keep on listening to stories. And hopefully see you soon. Bye.